Richard Linklater's Boyhood. Now, when it comes to the awards and all that good stuff for this year, I have to think that Boyhood is gonna be getting some top honors. But I know why I think that. But why do you guys think that? If you do, we'll start with you, Hamilton.
Well, obviously the just uniqueness of it, the way that Linklater filmed this same story over the period of its 12 years, I believe, the same cast, the same story. This about the boy from when he was 8 to 18 or somewhere or
Yeah,
or 6 to
so.
18
Yeah,
somewhere.
that's right.
12 years, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that alone is enough to get some attention. And then he does pull it off. It wasn't my favorite movie, but it was extraordinarily well done to keep a running theme and a running story over such a long period of time in the film's timeline, as well as filming it over 12 years.
Yeah.
It's just pretty extraordinary.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the same place about it that Hamilton is. As an undertaking, you can't not be in awe by a 12-year endeavor where you're using the same, first off, a kid who was not an actor, who was 6 when it started, and then you have Patricia Arquette and Ethan Hawke, who are filming, how many movies during a 12-year period, but still revisiting this, I guess, once a year or every couple of years to film a couple scenes. I thought as an undertaking it was phenomenal. I thought the movie was fine. I thought the acting, particularly Patricia Arquette, was very moving. It had its standout moments. And it was mainly interesting to see a kid literally grow up on screen, like you said.
Yeah. Personally, I think this is up there as one of the best of the year. And I'm going to say the reason being is because I feel like as a filmmaker, Linklater's vision to capture this, every, whatever, summer, you just take a week to film the new scene, to have, to write the scripts and to be able to, stay on top of this, and over 12 years to see a concise story. The boy grows up. I really felt like it was more of a documentary. The writing, it didn't feel like, okay, this was scripted. This just felt like this is what a 6-year-old, would say. This is what a 9-year-old would say. And as the title is, Boyhood, as I was watching it, I was like, yeah, I remember that as a kid. And the other part that was fascinating about it is that within each year, Linklater gives some kind of breadcrumb as to what was going on pop culture wise at the time. And so, whether it was was it Pokemon that in the beginning the boy was playing with, or
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, it's as things moved on, it was just wow, this is not only kind of talking about one boy's life, and growing up into adolescence, but it's also kind of showing us what's happening in America at the same time. You look like you want to say something.
Well, the music was the thing,
Right,
as,
yes,
as it
yeah,
started,
yeah,
I guess.
music as well.
Yeah, and so he was very specific about the music that he used in each transitional year, and it was kind of nostalgic, and it had a certain feeling about it going through each of those, particularly in the, obviously in his younger years when, it was longer ago.
Right.
I thought that was, he really punctuated it with the music. It was really good.
Definitely.
Yeah. To go off of that, I did enjoy how he could have done something like summer of 1998 or something, underneath there.
Right.
There was no timeline specified. There were just a lot of clues given to sort of give you an idea of when this is now taking place.
Right.
Which was less distracting, I think, than showing, really chunking it up and, okay, we've started a new chapter.
Yeah.
Just sort of a little more seamless there.
But I truly feel story-wise, like I said, I felt like it was we were watching a documentary and we just revisited this kid's life every time. But I loved how bringing in the abusive stepfather, and kind of you know, as a child, there's certain things that or issues that you see or you have to deal with, but you don't necessarily know exactly what it is. And I felt like he captured that in such a great way where it was like we saw it as we would have seen it as a child. Like we would have seen, you know, our mother on the floor, and then, you know, stepfather comes out and says, oh, she had an accident or whatever, and then you keep going on about your business. But, you know, it still felt kind of like, oh, well, what happened to mom? And eventually we kind of see how, like, they're putting two and two together, and then even, like, feeling like, well, what's going to happen to our, you know, step siblings or whatever. I just felt like that was just, I don't know. I just felt like it was true. It was real. It resonated with me in a way that I feel like in lesser hands it wouldn't have done. Mike.
Yeah, I feel like that portion of the film that you just described was the most, I don't want to overuse the word moving, but it definitely had the most impact as far as a traumatic event that's a believable traumatic event that might occur in a kid's life where, like you said, they don't necessarily understand, like, oh, well, my stepdad's an alcoholic. Like, you know, he's just angry. You know, what's going, you know, they don't really understand to that. I can't remember how old he was at that part of the film, but he was still
fairly young.
Yeah, was he like under 10 still, or was he like around there?
I feel like it had to have been like around 10.
But that and Arquette's acting during that whole, you know, everything, like you said, felt pretty unscripted, like most of his films, like all the you know, before sunrise and sunset and midnight movies that also covered a 20-year expanse of time. Just felt very much like a day in the life, and sometimes it was like a day in a not so good day in the life, you know, and sometimes it was better days, and so yeah, I felt the same way about it.
Yeah. I also think back to the performances, you know, Ethan Hawke and Patricia Arquette, they both did a great job of portraying the adult characters, and you can see them growing up. I think Ethan Hawke definitely, because he kind of went from like that, I'm the cool dad that comes in to like suddenly like it's like, oh, he's got a new wife and he's got a kid, like, and I love that, you know, we figure that out and we keep moving forward, but we also see him mature. You know what I mean? And so like he's still got like the crazy zaniness to him, but like you see this maturation. Same thing with Patricia Arquette. I feel like, you know, like as true to real life, she did go through a couple of relationships that, you know, weren't so good, but I do think she also learned from that as well. And then it was just cool to see him like graduate from high school and whatnot, and you know, and it felt like, oh, my family, you know what I mean? Like the family's getting together to celebrate. Like his sister comes back and stuff like that. So I just felt like that was just awesome.
Yeah, I guess the kid's name is Eller Coltrane. That's So that was, I mean, for a kid to take that on is pretty amazing.
Right.
To commit to that.
And amazingly, he actually, by the end of the film, had a pretty striking resemblance to Ethan Hawke, I thought, which was convenient.
Right. Maybe there's something we don't know.
Yeah, right. I'll have to go back and see if that's true. That's kind of interesting.
But he also kind of developed as an actor along the way, too, which was the thing, because he went from not, you know, obviously a 6-year-old in his first movie to being kind of an actor, but still not feeling like one. So it was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so final thoughts on Boyhood.
Astounding undertaking, and you know, overall film I think most people will enjoy and appreciate and be moved by, and just I think it needs to be seen at least for what Linklater has done with, you know, I think it was massive and ambitious and overall a very good movie.
Yeah,
I definitely agree. Just to touch back with the before sunrise, sunset, the whole thing, I think it sort of is a culmination of sort of those experiments, and even works better than those three films, which got a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? It was not so mundane. It took more interesting pieces of the life very specifically.
Yeah.
It still felt like a day in the life, but it focused on very specific moments, whereas those other three films at times could feel just a little bit overdrawn, and there's no reason this needs to be on screen.
Like we're just going for a walk to the grocery store.
Yeah, right, definitely.
Yeah.